What is going on, Z Warriors? MrWaffles here, and today I'm going to present you guys a deck that is based on an MP which I don't really see a lot of people talking about, and the MP I'm referring to is Cell Jr. So I know it's been a while since I kind of posted like a deck profile and things like that, but a lot of people were like preparing for Worlds, and a lot of the decks that I kind of wanted to showcase were either not being shown yet, just because people were preparing for Worlds and didn't really want to release it. So I was just kind of waiting until after the aftermath of Worlds happened to really kind of push out some more deck profiles. So I decided to do Restore Cell Jr. Mainly because Peter, I think his last name is Amulet. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but no, his first name is Peter, and he was running Restore Tau at I think the LCQ or one of these like events to get like your invite or something, and he did a really good job with the deck. You know, it's a deck that a lot of people haven't really seen, or you know, they understood Tau, but they probably thought it would just go with Conflict or something like that. So he kind of really inspired me to really try an MP that a lot of people didn't really play and kind of went under the radar. So the MP I'm showing you guys today is a Namekian Restored Cell Jr. actually. So this is just a first draft, but this is what I kind of came up with and play testing on Octagon. It's been a lot of fun for sure, and it's won with surprisingly a lot of games. I know it's Octagon, so it doesn't really count for much, but it really like takes people by surprise, and I'll kind of go through the deck list step by step. And with my version, again, it's not like you're banishing the Cell Jr. allies. You kind of have them there for the buff for Turles, pretty much. You also have them for a couple of cards that I'll kind of introduce to you. So to start things off, we have the Cell Jr. stack 1 through 4 in Restored Mastery. I picked Restore just because the fact that you can really like abuse Flinch more often than not, which would help with the allies that you have in your discard pile. So to be able to kind of get back Cell Juniors and things like that can really be beneficial. So to start things off, I have 2 Namekian Sidekick. So Namekian Sidekick I like because one, it lowers anger, which is very helpful right now, especially in like retribution against retribution decks and things like that. It's also helpful simply because you know, if you're playing against Resolute and they use your mastery, you can throw this out to either force a block anyway, or you know, even though they might prevent the damage, you get to draw the top card of your discard pile. So you can kind of set things up pretty cool where you can kind of loop things. So I figured like this is a really good card just because of those reasons. 2 Backhand. This is definitely a card I was thinking about taking out because I don't want the deck to be solely relying on like Turles, big buff, attack, damage kind of thing. But it's just there too, just because it's 9 stages where they can't redirect to allies or prevent it. So it really does help in the aspect against certain Goku decks where a lot of them can really do a lot of damage because it's always in the high brackets. So to be able to like knock it down 9 stages is pretty helpful. And then of course if you have Turles, it can really just be a blowout and can really just like end games. I also put 3 Namekian Aerial Knee. Simply because, again, your personality is sane as well as Namekian, so you always pretty much control a Cell Jr. ally because you can either search it with the level 1 or, you know, with Chest Explosion or whatever. So it's just the offensive rejuve. This deck pretty much only has defensive rejuve by hybrid defense. So I really want to have a way to offensively rejuve, so that way if I use, let's say, a Flinch to block, I can Aerial Knee, rejuve the Flinch to get an ally, instead of waiting for my opponent to attack and for me to hybrid to rejuve. So I want kind of an aggressive way to gain cards back into my deck. Then I also play 2 Namekian Team Up. This card's really cool because, again, being able to have critical damage on access is awesome, but the fact that, you know, you can search out your allies numerous ways with Cell Jr. 1, with Chest Explosion, Overpowering Attack. It's really helpful in that regard. It also helps you so that way if you have Nappa on the field to shut down your opponents, but you kind of want to use your setups, you can, you know, shuffle in your Nappa, so that way you can turn on your setups and make them live. Or you can even shuffle on Cell Jr. Escaping, and if you want to banish them, to mill them too, and then do 4 life cards as well as get a crit effect. So it's very versatile in that aspect. For physical blocks, we're just running 3 Flinch. I might try and put in at least one clamp because it shuffles back in and it has endurance 3 because the deck is kind of lacking endurance, as you notice, not much in there. But you know, right now it's just a flinch just because, you know, you can just absorb damage with the allies that you constantly bring out. Plus the fact that you're not really too worried about stage breach. I mean, it hurts to some regard. So again, I'll probably, this is the first version, but I'll definitely probably play Namekian Clamp as well in addition for the endurance. But right now it's just a 3 flinch because it's flinch, you know, you get allies and stuff, which this whole deck is pretty much all about. Now for energies, we have the 2 Overpowering Attacks. I only play 2 because, one, I have multiple ways to kind of get allies out. Again, with all the reasons I listed before. So I didn't really feel like 3 was really necessary. I'd rather replace that 3rd Overpowering for like a more of a tech slot or something like that. 2 Namekian Handbursts. Again, it's a hard card to really stop because it can only be stopped by energy combat cards, and you get to draw the bottom card. So you can go like Aerial Knee, Rejuve, some stuff, and then, you know, Handburst to get the card that you Rejuve back. So it adds a lot of value and flavor in that aspect because, you know, you kind of keep chaining attacks, and it's also, since it's harder to stop, it also would help the Turles when you have Turles out. So if you know, it's just for 5 life cards, sure, but if you have Turles and it can't stop it, it can come for at least 2 stages or more, depending how many sane personalities are in play. 3 Namekian Chest Explosion. This card is just absolutely ridiculous, especially now with Goku being everywhere and Vegeta on the rise and Gohan's also there. This card is at least hitting for at least 8 life cards because, you know, you have 5 plus the 2 Sane MPs, which are your Cell Junior and your opponents, and then the ally that you get out. So at least like 7 to 8 minimum, and anything else is extra, which is disgusting. So this card really just blows out games. I was playing like a dynamic Goku, and I was able to Chest Explosion, and I had a whole bunch of allies out because Goku 2 can only crit 1 ally at a time. So, you know, with OP attack, with my power, you know, I would eventually build up a board, and the Chest Explosion, like going for like Turles or something like that, will come in for like 11 life, 12 stages or something like that. It was just ridiculous. So this card is just insanely good. 3 Maxwell, again, endurance and lowering anger is always clutch. It's always just helpful, so it's a good solid card all around. If you mill any Cell Juniors, is not a bad thing, obviously, because you can flinch them back in, and it could also buff your level 2 power. Now for energy blocks, 3 Cross Guard, I believe. Endurance, which is always needed, and since we do play some drills, we need them so that way we can rejuve and get the drill back. And 3 Namekian Buffer, just because high endurance and to be able to rejuve 3 is also clutch. For events, 1 time, obviously, 1 Cell Junior Surround, so I might take this card out and actually replace it with Namekian Clench, because endurance and the fact that even though you get 2 allies and you get to put them 5 above, and shuffle it back into your deck, you know, for the most part, since I'm only running 5 Cell Junior allies total, it probably wouldn't really happen where I can get to. If I was playing like 9 or something like that, then I can definitely see this card having more value, but again, I'll probably just cut it out for a Namekian Clamp. 2 Sphere, because, you know, we kind of need to stop certain things, like other hybrid defenses or time or whatever the case may be, especially if you have Turles out and you're kind of going for game. 2 Stare Down, and you'll see like a lot of 2-ofs because, again, I also try to take in consideration like Vegeta's Final Flash. You know, you don't want to get into a combat where you can't use like half of these cards, so you want to kind of make them as relevant as possible. Even though you can't do anything about them shutting off your mastery, you at least want to try and have the cards in your hand as relevant as possible. 1 Hurry quest. I played a 1 quest because outside of just trying to do beatdown, sometimes you have to kind of go for a little cool ball strategy kind of shenanigans, and this card can really help just swing games. It's a good tempo card, so I just play 1 just because I don't really see myself having all the balls out a lot of the time. It's usually just like 1 or 2, and pretty much, you know, I wouldn't be in a situation where I would have like at least like 4 or 5 balls out, you know, because again, I really lack endurance, so I'm very careful about how many Dragon Balls I place into play. We also have 2 Overtime. Again, Overtime is clutch because you can search out the energy block or energy defense, so you can go Overtime into Chest Explosion or Overtime into Maxwell if you need to lower anger, or hand burst or whatever the case may be. So it's definitely a versatile card. And then the Villainous also helps as well. 3 high rate defense, pretty much staple. 1 radar, 1 Dragon Clan, again, just be able to search your life deck for a certain Dragon Ball just to kind of swing things in your favor is always helpful. So, you know, if Goku's on 2 and you don't want him to crit your stuff, you know, to be able to lower him down to 1 and kind of deal with him from there is very helpful. And the 1 Wish, because combat enders are always good in the game. So if you're ever in a bad combat, you know, just to bail out and get out of there, Namekian Wish is that card. And then we play 2 Assistant Drill. I actually had this at 3. But again, I'll probably tinker with it, but it's so cool because you can search it with Cell Jr. 1 if it hits, because it has a constant ability. So Cell Jr. 1, this deck doesn't really go to 4 or even 3. It pretty much stays at 2, like fluctuates between 1 and 2. And 1 is just such a good power, just because you can get allies with it. So you can, if level 1 hits, you can get the drill, so you can start gaining hand advantage early on. You can get Turles if you want to go for buffs, Nappa if you want to shut down your opponent's setups, Ginyu if you want to see their hand so you can see what you have to do and how to change your strategy. Getting ball 1 or getting ball 6 is always helpful as well. So level 1 and being like a toolbox ability on its own is very, very, very helpful. And the stage pressure is always relevant too. You know, it might not seem like much 4 stages, but then when you have 4 stages and then you pack the Turles onto it, you know, it can really add up. Now for the allies, I have the 1 Ginyu, 1 Turles, 1 Nappa. These 3 simply because, you know, Nappa being able to shut off stuff, Ginyu being able to see the hand, so that way you can, you know what to kind of discard with the mastery and kind of filter out, and Turles obviously for the buffs. And then for the Cell Jr. allies, I'm only just playing 5. 2 of the, I don't even know, trapped or whatever, and the 3 escaping. 3 escaping simply because, again, with teamwork, you can be able to shuffle, but then you can also just banish them instead, just to mill your opponent more. So it can be really helpful in that aspect. And all 7 Dragon Balls. So this is pretty much the deck as it stands. I also was playing Cell Ally. He wasn't bad, but again, he also buffs my opponent's style attacks. So being with all the lack of endurance I had in here, I wasn't too sure about that, but I might try and find room for him again, because he can really help in the Vegeta matchup, especially that all this non-style stuff will cost an additional stage, plus the fact that you're at Cell Jr. 1 and 2 both have physical attacks, so you can really like put on stage pressure and really kind of hurt the deck that way. So I might try and see if I can fit the Cell Ally back in here. Again, this deck pretty much slowly levels up. It's not like it's supposed to MPPV, it's just pretty much like a beatdown deck, just offering a lot of cool, fun utility stuff. So that's pretty much it for the deck. Again, if you guys see any changes or you guys have any suggestions, just let me know down in the comments below. And I'm probably going to do more deck profiles like these, because where I have the card images, simply because I don't really have all the cards at hand, and it'll be kind of a pain to find them. So to be able to just kind of mock up a deck like this anytime I want is always helpful. So if you guys like what you guys see here, just remember to give this a thumbs up, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So until then, MrWaffles. Until then, Z Warriors, MrWaffles out.